Rise up, the Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. The crew is back, and now it's time to rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. Rise up, rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. The crew is back, and now it's time to rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. Rise up.
And we're back to the D's on Fire podcast. It's all right. Everybody breathe. The game seemed important, really wasn't in the grand scheme of things. if you're really talking about what mattered, that's not it. The next few games are what matters. So that we got the loss out of the way, and now we're ready to run. Maybe. So
big maybe.
Hey, we'll go through Fordham again. It's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season.
That's what they always say in the NFL, but it's kind of not true, isn't it?
No, I actually don't know the numbers on it, but
I don't know either. But
we didn't play them well at our house. I take that more as on us in our loss at home. At their house, we played them well up to a point, and then it was just the game got out of hand. I don't know how you took it watching it, but I really felt like the refs called it one way, and they bought the flop city that was Fordham all day.
Yeah, I think the whistle did change first half compared to the second half. First half, like you said, it's a close game up until that RJ gun, which was a foul, and that was a technical.
All right, let's get into that. Breaking it down. There was some contact by both players. Then it looked like it should have been a jump ball after RJ Gunn ripped it out of his hands. And then the point guard, Quisenberry, ripped it back out after it probably should have been a jump ball. Then there was a push. It was not a push that should have taken Quisenberry to the ground like that. He definitely sold it. Should not have even been a technical at that point, in my opinion. More so just a foul that the refs kind of let the game get out of hand. Then, after that, one of the Fordham players comes in, Rose, number 10, shoves RJ Gunn. No punishment for him whatsoever during this. Refs give all the fouls toward RJ Gunn. They gave him a flagrant, a technical, and a common foul. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, probably the distribution of fouls was wrong, but that was definitely a technical. That was like, I feel like was it the flagrant that gives them possession, right?
Right.
I feel like in today's basketball, that's a flagrant, like what RJ Gunn did. It was like unnecessary.
All right, but literally one of their players shoved him even further away from the basketball side of things, and he didn't get anything. So, like, if you're saying that's a flagrant, fine. There's a flagrant on Fordham's team as well then.
Yeah, it wasn't as one-sided as the refs made it out to be. I agree with that. But that's clearly all like the calls aside, that was that moment. From that moment on,
it was just
that changed the entire momentum of the game. The score was 30-29. Duquesne was up by 1. After that possession, 7-point possession, it's 36-30, and they never looked back.
At that point, I think the 6-point lead was the biggest lead of the game. It was a very back and forth game. So not only did you flip who was ahead, you just literally gave away the biggest lead in the game.
Yeah. And that was at the 3-minute and like 40 mark.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty much the whole first half was tied. Like it's crazy to think about. And the halftime score was what, 45-30 something? Like it was a double digit lead in Fordham's favor, and you wouldn't have any idea that that game was close before that if you just look at the halftime score.
From the Atlantic 10's perspective, you had a wildly entertaining game going on for 15, 16 minutes that mattered a lot. And then they're like, I understand. Actually, start of the second half, we still were playing well, and the refs still were, I think, calling it inconsistently on both sides. At that,
I think in the beginning of the first half that was kind of true, and then we started getting some whistles in the second half.
Second half, yeah,
later in the second half.
But yeah, when the game was already out of hand, they evened up the fouls, which that doesn't do us any good. You already gave the game away.
Yeah,
thanks. Yeah, we're down 30 points. Oh, now you're calling fouls against them. That's fantastic. There was one moment in the second half in particular that also got like my flop city rage against them, which was players were diving for the loose ball on the floor, and
the commentators
were complaining, and Rose, even if he did get like a foot to the head, like with the player diving, he was rolling around like Neymar on the pitch. My God. And Fordham takes such pride in being a tough, hard-nosed team. We're not going to let anybody run over us. And then they flop.
They're New Yorkers, you know.
They flop like no other. Quisenberry in particular, just continuing to flop and complain to the refs throughout the game. Their coach was complaining with, I don't think you watched the under 5-minute mark. The coach was complaining with 2 minutes left. They're up 27 points that the refs called a foul against them. I was irate the entirety of the second half at the announcers, at the fans, at the coaches, definitely at the players.
I didn't like the cut of Fordham's coach when he was in a suit. Who wears a suit anymore? Come on.
They're New York.
This is new era basketball. We wear sweats, just like every basketball player in history. They prefer sweats over suits. But
yeah, our Twitter account got lit up after this one, not gonna lie. But that just fuels the fire of if we do win in the game that matters, if we get there in a few days, I get to go on a nice little circle back on all those tweets. And boy, oh boy, Big Cat has taught me well just to quote tweet and say, "Oh no, what happened? Oh, that 30-point loss really mattered, didn't it? Oh, man, that will be so.
The regular season doesn't matter, Nick. I don't know if you know that. That's what I was taught in the NBA. So,
well, in the zero bid league, Atlantic 10, it definitely doesn't matter because there's talks that VCU, if they go all the way to the championship game and lose, probably still won't be. That's our best chance at having a second team in the NCAA tournament. Still likely wouldn't get us there. So
that's tough to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like the actual game, refs aside, Duquesne offensively was atrocious.
Well, especially in the second half.
Especially in the second half, but even in the first half, I just felt like, and I didn't, when like the Davidson loss, you could notice the aggression and the effort on Davidson's defense. I didn't necessarily feel that way with Fordham. Like, yeah, it was tough to get good shots, but we were still generating like what would have been good opportunities to shoot, but we just weren't making shots. And there were some guys that weren't taking shots, particularly Day and Trey Clark in the first half. I feel like Joe Reese, he's the only starter that was in double digits, but he was also the most aggressive. I felt like there was a lack of aggression offensively.
Yeah. Dixon I thought he looked decent in his minutes that he got in the first half in particular. Second half, it was just second
There's
half.
There's not a lot of notes from the second half.
Second half, our offense was chuck up threes to try and cut back into it, and we weren't making threes. And they weren't necessarily good shots in the second half. That was more so us just trying to make a comeback out of nowhere. But in the first half, I thought I outside of those 4 minutes in the first half, I thought we were playing an excellent game of basketball. I thought it was just a great game both ways. I really did. We were getting cuts to the basket. We weren't necessarily shooting that many threes in that time span, but we were getting good looks right next to the basket for the most part, which against Fordham is great because they're basically challenging you to beat them to get to that spot. So we were doing that, and then, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I felt like, excuse me, before that RJ gun, the 7 point possession too. I think what helped keep Fordham in the game, I saw this. I was just looking up like box score stuff. Fordham got to the line and shot 12-14 in the first half from the line. Like they weren't really generating too much offensively from the floor.
The only fouls before that 7 point swing was shooting fouls where players were going to the basket. That was really the only fouls that were called prior to that. So that does make sense in my mind. I honestly, out of those 14 free throws, I'm gonna guess more than half of those were after that, or like after the 5 minute less left in the first half.
Yeah, I guess I could have counted, but who cares?
Yeah.
And Duquesne shot as a team 33% from the field, 13% from three. All three of our makes came in the first half. We didn't make 1 3 in the second half. Just kind of reminds you of like how reliant this offense is on the 3 point shot.
Yeah.
And how ugly it can look when that shot doesn't hit. And we also didn't generate a lot of turnovers and steals in this game, which I said in the last podcast, if we don't get steals, I feel even worse for our offense more so than our defense.
Well, that's our game at this point. Like it used to be, if we got killed on the rebounds, then the game was over. Realistically, the number is if we're able to turn them over, then we're gonna win. If we don't, then we're gonna lose.
I'm just looking at the numbers now. Like, other than shooting, every category is like we got beat, but not by a lot. Like 43 rebounds to 36 rebounds. We didn't have a lot of we weren't coughing the ball up, only 11 turnovers. That's pretty good. That's not too bad. Fordham just shot really well. They almost shot 50% from the field. I'm shocked about the 3 point numbers. They made nine threes, shooting 43% from three. That's not in their game. That also has to do with them being at home. So you're going to shoot a little bit better in a big game like that. They had a great crowd.
And they had, at the end of the game, they were making a few threes, and it was low pressure at that point too, because you're already up by so much. You're just feeling it at that point.
And it wasn't like they were hot in the first half or hot in the second half. Like they were kind of consistent with the percentages all game long, and they were getting good shots. I don't know. I mean, there's no way you can win when Day has 5 points, shoots 2 of 8 from the field. Trey Clark 1 of 7 from the field, 3 points. Devin Brewer 3 points, 1 of 6 from the field. I mean, those are key guys not scoring enough points. Reese played well, and like I said, I liked his aggression. Didn't feel that aggression really from anyone else. We kind of fell flat in that sense, I felt.
Well, in the first half, I felt like all our bigs were doing good aggression-wise. There were some that got blocked more than others. Trey Williams in particular, I remember 2 or 3 times where he went up, looked like a layup, but he was going up soft with a layup instead of expecting contact.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
So, like, they were going towards the basket, but I agree that Reese definitely had the vibe of expecting contact more than our other bigs. Dixon, I think he might have been expecting contact, but he's still just not. That's one of the big jumps that I'm hoping he makes in the offseason, where him and Barre with that holding onto the ball through contact sort of thing. Hopefully that develops more.
Yeah. And I was kind of shocked that not shocked, but I mean Rotroff only played 6 minutes in this game. Clearly opted for Dixon to play. those minutes, it's not really a big deal. It's just something.
Yeah.
There's not like anything else to talk about other than how poorly Duquesne played. So that's
I mean,
just I'm trying to divert a little bit.
yeah, at that point, you're going for athletic upside and just trying to light a spark. And Rotroff, while he's steady, he's not the likely guy to light a spark on the team.
And it wasn't like we were getting. I think in the first half there were some offensive boards that Fordham gave them second chance points, but it wasn't one of those signature
Needing to
Duquesne
stop
got
the
crushed
bleeding.
on the glass games. We've seen a lot worse, so I wouldn't say that was the reason. Yeah, this was depressing. This was a depressing loss. I hope this doesn't carry into the tournament. That's how bad this loss was.
I mean, my mindset, which we couldn't do because you really wanted to talk about Fordham, was that we literally not mention this game, and I feel like the team just
We had to mention this game. We were so excited and hyped for this game. We had to talk about it.
This is after this game, Duquesne coaches tell the guys, wipe it from your memory. It's done, buried. We're moving on. Like,
Yeah.
not even making it to the buses. In the locker room, you tell them that. This is it. It's dead. We're moving on. The only thing that could change that is if you just want to feed them all night after they beat LaSalle, or who's LaSalle playing?
Beats me.
I kind of earmarked it that we were going to definitely play LaSalle, so that's on me. Let's see, LaSalle or Rhode Island. Either one of those teams we matched up well against at their home courts. So, or no, we only played Rhode Island at home. LaSalle, we played at LaSalle.
Yeah.
I'm fine playing either of those teams. I mean, obviously the players need to have a better mindset than that, but from a fan standpoint, if we lose to one of those teams, I'm glad the season's over.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about the tournament, I guess?
I mean, we've got to be out of the 4 teams that we'd be like best matched up with of the top 4 seeds. I'd say VCU is definitely our best matchup, despite the fact that they are the number 1 seed. Dayton's definitely the team that I want to face the least of the 4, but we clearly don't match up well. We didn't match up well against St. Louis, Dayton, or Fordham. So we're going to have to get through teams that we did not find answers for earlier this year.
St. Louis, I think obviously the way that game went was, it was an outlier of points in the paint given up.
I've watched St.
argue.
Louis play 3 games since our game against them, and I think they've only played 4 or 5 after this.
Yeah.
That was such an anomaly on their part, where like Okoro has not looked nearly as dominant since then. I don't know, like our mismatch of height.
Is it us?
I think it was Brewer and Rozier just could not cover. Like, I'm sorry, like in a matchup against St. Louis, McGriff has to be on the floor a bunch, and we can't have that nightmare of a mismatch go against us. But I think the more I look at it, I think, it might have just been our bigs were not ready for the challenge. That really might have been what it came down to.
It's I'll be honest, I'm struggling after watching that game. I'm struggling.
I mean,
I'm struggling to draw positivity. I know this team is it also gave me thoughts of like reminds me of the Sixers I've been watching the last 5 years. Just
don't you say
no,
that.
Listen. You know that you're watching a good team, but for some reason they have these crazy losses that are unexplainable. and like there's a certain level of expectation with this team, and then you're immediately like let down. That's how I feel. I'm down. I'm down bad. I'm down bad.
You really are. My comment to you before that Fordham game was we were gonna go into this, just make it a hype video that we don't even have, where we're just hyping up the team all the way through, just naming off names, going, dog, Trey Clark, dog, Trey Williams, dog, and we don't have that energy right now. We don't have it.
No, I don't have it. I'm trying to like. There was nothing positive from this game that Joe Reese is like the only guy that I wanted to give credit to, because not only in the box score but just watching, I could see he wanted to be out there. That's how it came off. I don't know.
Well,
maybe we just stink being away. I don't know. That could have been it too.
Neutral site now. We're ready. Yeah. I mean, we definitely haven't played well away.
Yeah.
We've got GW. That was an away win. We've got LaSalle and St. Joe's, which, like, I mean, they finished okay record-wise, but there was a clear difference in talent with teams that if the team that we're playing on the road is in our league, I'll say, talent-wise, then we're in trouble. On the road. Neutral site, who knows? I will say this, though. Of all the neutral teams for a New York team, New York site, Fordham, pretty tough of a draw.
Yep.
And
yeah, I don't think I don't really have much else to say until we know who we're playing, which you'll find out. We're time traveling a little bit. We're recording Tuesday, or excuse me, Monday, and then we'll preview Tuesday. So,
yeah. I mean, hey, players can't do this. I'm kind of looking past this Tuesday game, and it is going from we lost.
I don't know how you can possibly say that after what we just watched.
Because we're playing teams that we're better than. We just went over it. We're above their league, in my opinion.
So, I agree, but I mean, I don't know how you can watch what you saw on Saturday and actually still think that.
Because
this team is over reliant on the 3-point shot and turnovers. Like, we have to be hot in both of those categories to win.
Not against LaSalle or Rhode Island. No, we don't have to be hot in those categories.
We have to be hot in one of them. That's our offense. That's our offense. Like, that's kind of what it is.
LaSalle, we dominated down low. We didn't turn them over that much. It was a complete reversal of the St. Louis game. We do not need to do that against these two teams.
They could adjust.
They could try to adjust.
I agree. I agreed with you before Saturday, and now after what I watched, everything's upside down.
Struggle against the top.
I don't know what's up. I don't know what's down. I don't know anything anymore. I'm contemplating whether doing this podcast at all at this point.
We struggle against the top teams in our conference. The team that we're playing Tuesday is not going to be a top team, or Wednesday is not going to be a top team in our conference. The Thursday game against Fordham is going to be that, and that is the game I'm focused on, because I am so confident. And like I said, if that confidence backfires, the podcast is done for the year anyway. So what do I care?
We just won't work. It'll just be like, this will be the last that anyone hears from us.
We can do a short one where we say, well, that sucked, and then that's it. We just have the one sentence. Well,
that's kind of what you wanted this podcast to be, this episode, but I told you we had to talk a little bit more than just say, oh, well, that wasn't great.
Which, I mean, we sort of did, but at the same time, it's basically been a repeat of that.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's about it.
But, all right, you know what? I'm ready to switch to optimism mode. You get your best games from we get our A game played with these players. I'm trying to think of a team that I'd be worried. I'm worried about Dayton. If we play our A game, Dayton plays our A game. Worried about Dayton. All the other teams, I'm not worried about. If we play our absolute A game, if Tevin Brewer's shooting lights out and not turning the ball over, Kareem Rozier comes off the bench, steady-handed, drawing a steal, maybe a charge, getting some assists, a few of those mid-range shots that he's known to hit. Great. Dixon comes out on fire, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 6 rebounds, 8 points off the bench. Like if we get an A effort across the board, Dayton is the only team I'd be worried about.
I mean, I know we beat VCU, obviously, but and admittedly, I haven't watched a single minute of VCU since that game. But I would imagine that they're not the same team that we played earlier. And that was what, like the third conference game was against VCU or something. It was early in our conference schedule.
Yeah.
That would be my only pushback. But that's based on nothing other than they're first in the A10, got the number 1 seed, and a lot of time has passed. So
yeah. Surprisingly, RJ Gunn still the leader of our plus minuses, by the way. Maybe not so surprising since he was probably not getting too many minutes after that moment in Fordham's game.
And he was like 3 for 3 in the first, like, and when I wrote in my notes, I'm like, oh, okay, RJ Gunn is hot from the field.
He was leading our team with 6 points, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, he went perfect in his first 3 shots and then didn't make another one after that. So, all right, I'm gonna try. I'm still recovering, obviously. So tomorrow, when we do the preview, I'll be in a better mindset. I promise to be more optimistic. And then Wednesday, it's like, okay, we're gonna win this, no doubt. So I'm still mourning.
Spiteful Nick on Twitter did not tweet out my initial reaction to Dixon's second free throw going in and out and then them getting Chick-fil-A. In hindsight, I'm glad the students got a free Chick-fil-A sandwich. I am.
So they get sandwiches? Is that confirmed?
Yeah, for the 2 missed free throws, they get a free Chick-fil-A sandwich, which, I mean, Chick-fil-A sandwiches are great. I'm never going to...
No, I'm jealous of that. So the Sixers for a long time.
Yeah, it was the Wendy's, right?
It was, it was Wendy's, free Frosties if 2 missed free throws in the second half by the away team. This year, it is Chick-fil-A, but it's not free sandwich. It's nuggets.
Oh.
You get like I think a six count of nuggets, but I'd much rather have the Chick-fil-A sandwich. So
yeah, then especially a 6-piece. Maybe if it's like, I don't even know if they do 10-piece.
They have 8-piece. 8 or 12-piece is their big one.
I guess I'd rather a 12-piece than a sandwich.
It could be it could be an 8-piece. I could be wrong. I know 6-piece is like a kid's meal size. So
yeah,
either way, you get nuggets, and I wouldn't want nuggets. I'd want a sandwich. So good on Fordham.
Yeah, way to work it. And going off of that note, Duquesne has an NIL organization now. The Red and Blue Collective just got formed. It's Duquesne University's NIL collective, supporting and partnering with Duquesne Student Athletics. Not officially affiliated with the university because all NIL groups really can't be, but it's a great way to get good connections with the student athletes, getting them to promote your businesses. They're not a charitable organization, so it's not a tax deductible expense on that aspect, but you can use it for advertising dollars for your business and have it tax. I mean, you're the accountant. You know this stuff more than me. But yeah, unofficially, shout out to the Red and Blue Collective. Excited to see that we finally made that step because it seemed like basically every other college had one at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Dukes are officially in New York at this point, so let's hope that this optimism doesn't backfire. The little optimism that we were able to foster up in this podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find the rest of it. It's somewhere in this apartment that I live in.
We'll get there. All right, folks. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
The Dukes are back and now it's time to rise up. Rise up.